Good evening, good day, namaste, everybody, and welcome to the 254th episode, live episode of the Ask Abhijit show. I hope you're all doing fantastic. It's great to see you all. I can see a lot of you already on the live chat. So, thank you so much for being here. I will take as many questions of yours as possible over the next hour or so. But before I start, let me see who all is there on the live stream. I can see Shri Ramchandra Namaha, Mr. 88ers Poojan Patel, Mr. Reactors Zone GK, Diling Pegu from Assam, Namaste, Praveen SS, Event Countdown, Anant Chandak, Mr. Jam, Priyanshi Sood, Om, Info King, Kumar Kanishk, Yashwant Sudhir, NTN 88, Samarth Tripathi, Kumar Kanishk, Vinay Asman, Geopolitical Dube from Indore, Chill Yash Channel, Mr. Bizby, Kumar Kanishk again, Akash Sharma, Sudhakar S, Rahul Dunake. Who else do we have? Akhila Narayan, Abhijit Tripathi, Pranay Paul from Kolkata, my good friend, Anant Chandak, Yashwant Sudhir, Sarup Exim, Nimish Gupta, Adit07, Xenomorphosis, Sushant Das, Pranay Kumar, Rajat Agarwal, Dhairya Bhanavat, Deepika, Aryan Musk, Priyanka Javalia, Samim, Surya Pavan, Aviral Gandhi, Hari Charan Gokul, Vikash PJ, Somi Jain, Abhishek Srivastav, Karan Nalawat, Jai Shri Ram, Hunter Kenway. Who else do we have? PDTR Mastan Vlogs, Vinay Esmal again, Aryan Patel, Nuro, Arnav Sonune, Pankaj Gaiki, Nikhil Bansali, SCAR Mystic, and so many other people. So Ankita, Somi Jain, and so many other people. So thank you so much for being on the live stream. Welcome everybody, and let me take as many questions as possible. I will take the live chat questions obviously on a priority basis. Let's do that. Let's go with question number one. Kumar Kanishk says, can it be possible that the UFOs we hear about are actually humans from the future, or more like time travelers, and the UFOs are the time machines on a research mission? Well, it's not entirely 100% impossible. There is a small probability that could be the case. But there is nothing in, well, according to the laws of physics, time travel is theoretically kind of possible if you do some manipulation of space time conditions using Einstein's field equations. Essentially, it's allowed by the field equations of Einstein if you use wormholes and long distances and stuff like that. But have we ever seen evidence of time travelers ever? I mean, look, if UFOs are the vehicles of time travelers, then why don't they come down here and talk to us and tell us how the future is like, right? What time period are you coming from, and how are things then? What's the technology we have in the future, and so on? So I think the chance is very low. I'm sure it's not entirely zero. Maybe they have a research mission. Maybe they want to study us from far away. Maybe that could be the case. It could be the case, perhaps. NTN 888 says, who do you think gave Zelensky authority to do such an audacious attack? Do you think Trump didn't know about the attack? I think it looks like Mr. Trump was not aware of the attack at all. The Operation Spiderweb attack on Russian airfields and the Kerch Bridge attack. It doesn't look like Mr. Trump was aware of this at all. He was completely silent about this for about 48 hours. Looks like Mr. Trump was completely caught off guard. And if that is the case, I think he only has himself to blame, Mr. Trump. He did not take Mr. Zelensky seriously, and Mr. Zelensky is now showing to Mr. Trump, demonstrating that, look, I have the cards. I have many cards up my sleeve. The cards that you were asking about, the cards you were speaking about in the Oval Office, let me show you the cards. Here is card number one, Spiderweb. Here's card number two, Kerch Bridge. Card number three, train attacks. Now let's see what other cards he has. I don't think anybody has given Zelensky the attack, the audacity, or the authority to do this audacious attack. I think he is now battle hardened. Initially, he was a comedian. Now he's transforming into a Ukrainian Winston Churchill. Looks like. Hmm? So I don't think Trump was aware of this. Zelensky has taken charge. It looks like, and maybe he is supported by the European nations, the EU nations, the NATO nations, without US involvement. So that's what it looks like is happening over here. Oh, Udbhav Sharma says, if the USA and Indian deep states are not aligned with their national interest, how can ordinary people like us replace them and do the needful, especially overcoming the corruption and caged system here? Mm, India doesn't have a deep state. India has some powerful people who have been powerful because of their ancestors' status as British era elites. I'm not sure. Yeah, but whoever they may be, probably aren't aligned with our national interest. The U.S. deep state, well, the U.S. deep state is it owns the US if it does exist. How can ordinary people like us replace the deep state and do the needful? Ordinary people like us cannot replace the deep state and do the needful. First of all, we don't even know who they are, and we don't know what their means of control of power are. See, the one thing the Anglo-Saxons have done is they have very craftily hidden away from public sight their instruments of power. Historically, everybody would demonstrate the instruments of power. See why we are so great. We have this and that and whatever. The Anglo-Saxons have very craftily hidden away the instruments of power and hidden away where the real power centers lie. So it's impossible to find where they are, apparently. So how do we replace them? I mean, if you want to replace them, you have to become powerful. How do you become more powerful? How can an ordinary person become powerful? What is power? Then the question is, what is power? Like Mao Zedong said, power flows from the barrel of a gun. Right? Influence is not power. Power is power. Power means you have an army of people who will obey you without question and who will do whatever you say. That's power. That's a force multiplier. That's leverage. How can ordinary people do that? Unless you get deep into things and get into politics or something. Otherwise, you can't. Otherwise, you can't. Udbhav says, can you please recommend top books you believe are necessary for becoming highly successful, wealthy, powerful, tech savvy in today's world? Mix of genres, technology, mindset, and stress, totally welcome. You know what? I have always been so loath to do book recommendations. See, how do you become successful? What's the book for becoming successful? Is it a set of books? I I don't really do self-help books. Successful. What about books about strategy, etc.? If you want to understand power, if you want to understand strategy, etc., you got to read books like, for example, well, if you want to understand amoral strategy and power, you can read books by Zbigniew Brzezinski. Zbigniew Brzezinski. I'm sure I have a few up here. You can read books by Henry Kissinger. Diplomacy. What else? One is diplomacy. The other is leadership. Um, so that is all about amoral power grabs and stuff. I mean, not about power grabs as such, but that's how the world works. Books about becoming wealthy. I don't know. Books about, maybe you should read. What was his name? Mm, can't remember the guy's name. There was this British entrepreneur, Felix Dennis, who wrote a book about how to become rich or something. Maybe it's a good book. Maybe it's a good. I think I read it like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and so on. Tech savvy. You can't read books to become tech savvy. You have to get your hands dirty with technology. You have to dive deep into technology and actually start using it, creating it, modifying it. That's how you become tech savvy. You don't become tech savvy by reading books. You don't become wealthy also by reading books. You become wealthy by taking risks, financial risks, and calculated risks, not reckless risks. And similarly, it goes to becoming powerful. So, Sachin, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Steric Bay says, with the US national debt crossing 36 trillion, what are the possible long term global risks? Could this lead to major economic or geopolitical shifts? Look, as long as the US is in control, it has the world's best power projection capabilities, and it controls more than 700 extraterritorial military bases. I don't think anything will happen to the US dollar's hegemony. So the US dollar's hegemony is based on US American global military power projection and their ability to intervene militarily anywhere on the globe at 60 minutes roughly notice. So it doesn't matter how much their national debt crosses. So what they're doing, what exactly is the US national debt? It means that they are selling pieces of paper to other countries who are, so you sell sovereign bonds to countries, and you and the country gives you US dollars back in return. That's the kind of scam it is. The sovereign bond is a promise that I'll pay you back with US dollars again. It's a complete scammy system, complete circular logic, and so on. But since the debt is in US dollars, all the US has to do is to print a little bit more dollars and give it back. See, here's the difference. If India owes, let's say, $1 billion to another country, and we have to pay it back, we have to first earn those $1 billion by trading with other countries, by giving those countries actual goods. That's how we earn the paper $1 billion, and that's how we pay the debt back. If the US owes somebody $1 billion, they'll just print the $1 billion and give the money. So that's the entire financial system. Global financial system is based on, it's the foundation is this scam. So the risks are significant. Right now, nobody is going to dare to ask the US. Even the Chinese own trillions of dollars of US securities. It doesn't make any difference. And if the Chinese ask the Americans to pay it back, the Americans may even refuse. So overall, the entire system is a scam, and the global risk, long-term risk, is that eventually this will collapse. When it collapses, the entire global financial system will collapse, which means that nations won't be able to trade with each other very easily. So it could cause genuine, massive global economic shifts, and that comes with geopolitical shifts also. Divya Sharma says Vietnam, Indonesia, Singapore, Israel sovereign or not? The only fully sovereign nations in the world, 100% sovereign, are the US, Russia, China, India, and Israel. 5 nations. Other nations have their sovereignty that is compromised in various ways, a variety of ways. So Vietnam, not 100% sovereign, sadly. I would love it to be sovereign. It's a beautiful nation. Indonesia, wonderful nation. Singapore, no. Okay, Jagan says SAR. World Bank is going to give $40 billion to Pakistan. Yes, I gave a detailed presentation about this yesterday. $40 billion. 50% to the government and 50% to the private sector. 20 billion to the government, 20 billion to the private sector. That's what the World Bank is going to do over the next 10 years to Pakistan. So will Pakistan come back stronger whenever clashes with India? Why our forces on regular basis strike across border inside terrorist facilities? Pakistan will remain afloat. The US and its various assets like the World Bank, the IMF, etc., they're going to keep Pakistan afloat because they need Pakistan. Pakistan is a very major, valuable asset for the US to keep India counterbalanced, off balance, to keep on, needling India and poking India whenever required. Pakistan is very valuable for the US. The Americans will not allow Pakistan to go under. Without all this aid, Pakistan would have collapsed a long, long, long time ago. So Pakistan will survive. Pakistan will continue to exist. Maybe they'll come back stronger if the Americans give sufficient money. But they don't want Pakistan to become too strong either. They just want to keep it the way it is, you see? So why do our forces on regular basis strike across border inside terror facilities? Because we are not a nation that strikes at civilians. We don't target civilians. We will strike at terror facilities, and we'll strike at terror camps and bases. And if required, we'll strike at Pakistani military infrastructure and targets, not civilians. And we wish that we do not have to do this. We wish Pakistan would mind its own business, then we would not have to do all this. But they force us to do it by constantly indulging in terrorism and exporting terrorism to India. Akash says, is it possible for the PM of Bharat to create a secret commando group which can eliminate the zero point 0.5 front hidden foes, including anti-national politicians? Look, I'm not recommending anything like this, but anything is possible. Kumar Kanishk says, to deal with Pakistan conventionally, can we make WMD silently like country I as option to escalate like 71 be possible without West war interference? To deal with Pakistan conventionally, can we had make WMD silently like country I as option to escalate like 71 be possible without? I'm not sure what you're asking, sir. I usually understand things. Weapons of mass destruction. What are okay? Let me talk about WMDs. Weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction are either nuclear weapons or chemical weapons or biological weapons. We don't do nuclear. We don't do chemical. We don't do biological. That's crimes against humanity. The only thing we do is nuclear. We have a nuclear stockpile. So we have a nuclear stockpile. We don't need to be silent about it. It's pretty open. Um, and can something be possible without Western war interference? No. The moment we strike at Pakistan, the West will interfere. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. But the point about nuclear weapons is that we don't want to use them ever. It's for deterrence. Mr. Busy B says, "Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very nice of you." Mr. Busy B again, how is it that we still have really bright minded individuals in spite of the bad education system? How do we become like them? Like whom? Bright minded. First of all, why do we have bright minded individuals despite the horrible education system? Because talent will somehow find a way. Ramanujan found a way, right? Despite the horrific education system, which nearly destroyed him. But he found a way. He was determined. He reached out. And Hardy found him. He reached out to Hardy, and Hardy saw that this guy's a goddamn genius. So look, India is a nation of immense talent. We have the brightest people in the world. And they succeed because of their determination. They succeed because of the talent, their hard work. And for many of them, the education system, no matter how garbage like it is, it doesn't stop them. So we have the brightest people in the world, no question. So the education system can only seek to, slow them down. But as long as they have determination, they can't be stopped. How do we become like them? By working as hard as possible and being super optimistic. Nikhil says, best books to teach in Indian values to my baby girl who's just 1.5-year-old. Any lectures? I think at the age of 1.5 years, I'm not sure anybody can read a book, but I'm sure you can read a book to them. Read it aloud or something. The best book for Indian values are the good old books, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, right? Maybe the Upanishads. But the question is, can a 1.5-year-old handle that? Maybe you can wait for a few years until she is maybe 5-6 years old. At that time, the Mahabharata Ramayana become very really interesting. As long as you teach, as long as you communicate it at the level of a kid, So I think the best books for Indian values are the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Upanishads, the Vedas, all of this. And the Upanishads, Vedas, etc. are all pretty complicated for most people. So stick to the Mahabharata and Ramayana. And of course, there is the Jatak Kathas, the Jatak Tales, the Panchatantra. All of that is great for kids. So these are some of the best things you can do. Rohan says, how would you create vassals for India as the PM? How would you create vassals for India as the PM? By being more powerful, by becoming more powerful. Right now, India is not in a position to create more vassals. Only by being more powerful, being at least a $10 trillion economy with the corresponding military might, then you can think of creating vassals. Really now says, I am thoroughly scared. We must strike preemptively. You mean about the asymmetric threat from Pakistan? No point being scared. The government will do what's needed. Our technological capabilities are superb. Of course, it's going to be a challenge after we saw what the Ukrainians did to Russia. Yeah, so we cannot be complacent, but I'm sure we'll be fine. We have more threats now. The Pakistanis will try some nonsense, I'm sure, sooner or later. They have always done that. So we're going to have to be ready. But let's not be thoroughly scared. Let's be positive and optimistic. Avnish, thank you very much, sir. Dheeraj Kamath, thank you, sir. Pakistan got a temporary position at the UN Security Council in a supposedly influential position. Is this a diplomatic victory for them, which can unfortunately be used to prevent the continuation of Operation Sindoor? This temporary position cannot be used to prevent the resumption of Operation Sindoor if we choose to resume it. Just because you have a certain status-driven position doesn't make you powerful. But yeah, this is a reward for Pakistan of some kind from the US. Or maybe from China, or maybe from both. See, both the US and China see eye to eye on Pakistan. China doesn't want India to rise, to grow much. So Pakistan is very valuable in that regard. Pakistan can keep India off balance. The US also doesn't want India to become the next China in a by a 2040 horizon. So they also want Pakistan to continue to exist. So to have Pakistan continue to exist, they want to take the world's eyes off both nations, US and China, don't want the world to regard Pakistan as a terrorist nation. They want to whitewash the image of Pakistan. So the American military AFRICOM commander recently said that the Sahel region is the world's new terror hub. So they are kind of saying that the Sahel region is where terrorism happens now, the global epicenter of terrorism, and they are not mentioning Pakistan in this regard. So they're trying to whitewash Pakistan's reputation, and giving them this supposedly influential position in the UN Security Council. It in the perspective of terrorism, well, once again they're trying to whitewash things. So it's kind of a diplomatic victory for Pakistan. It's not a diplomatic victory because it doesn't really have the support of hundreds of nations. It's like a bone that has been thrown towards a dog. Here, chew on this bone. This is your reward for your services rendered. That's what this is. But it can't be used to prevent the potential continuation of operations in those. They can't use that to prevent that. AS says, I am a third year. First of all, thank you, sir. Thank you. I am a third year Meng Chemical from Imperial. I'm a third year Meng Chemical. What's Meng? Mechanical engineering chemical from Imperial. I'm interested in peptide crystallization and thinking about doing a PhD, but unsure if I should do it in the US or not, given the current situation. I think it's risky now in the US. What they're doing right now, currently, is they are going after Chinese students. Chinese students who have these education visas, F whatever. I think it's the F visas, is it, or whatever it is. And they're revoking the visas. So these students from China, I'm sure most of them are not spies. I assume. Maybe I'm too naive. Maybe I'm too naive still. But maybe not all of them are spies, right? For the Chinese Communist Party. So they have spent a lot of money to come to the US. And they've taken admission. They've done all the exams and they've cleared everything. They have come legally after spending so much money. And the US is now revoking their visas unilaterally. There's nothing these kids can do about it, right? So they're out. All these years of hard work, all the money invested, all of it down the drain. So that's China. They're targeting China right now. That's what the Trump administration is doing. What's the guarantee they will not look at India next in the same way? And right now they're increasing the scrutiny on all student visa applications. Like they're tripling the scrutiny. They want you to divulge all your social media accounts, and they will look at your social media accounts. And I'm sure even if you have deleted stuff, they can find it because they own the social media platforms. So they want to see if you have said anything against their country in the past or against any of their allies or vassals, that sort of thing. So I think it's a difficult time to be an Indian student who is thinking of going to the US for further studies. Difficult, dangerous. I remember during the COVID period also, when there were lockdowns and all, there were Indian students who had secured admission after spending so much money. They reached the US after spending so much money for the flight, and they're told to go back. So anything can happen. The only safe place is your own country. What are other potential locations, destinations? Maybe Australia is one, but I don't think Australia has such great STEM universities. No offense to Australia, but I'm not sure about that. Germany is a US vassal. They could follow suit, and they've been rather discriminatory towards Indian students in the past. Germany. Yeah, so I think it's a kind of dodgy right now. It's kind of dodgy. I can't give you a final recommendation. You will have to do your own risk analysis. But hopefully, what I told you gives you some better context. It is kind of dodgy right now. If I was 20 today and I wanted to do a PhD, 22 or whatever, I would be worried if I was thinking of the US. Sushant says the nukes we talk of today are thermonuclear weapons. Are there any countries that still maintain an arsenal of traditional nukes, that is fission bombs? All nations maintain an arsenal of fission bombs. Thermonuclear bombs are strategic weapons. The tactical weapons are all fission bombs. Mostly, as far as I understand. I mean, I would not use a thermonuclear weapon as a tactical nuke, as a tactical nuke or a battlefield nuke. Thermonuclear weapons are for a different purpose, very nasty purpose. And then you have other weapons also. But see, the traditional low yield nukes, fission bombs, are still used. Absolutely, no, you still stockpile them for tactical use. So it's not entirely correct that the nukes we talk of today are only thermonuclear weapons. It's not the case. Those are strategic weapons. Those are to be delivered in case of doomsday scenario, to ensure the complete annihilation of your enemy, because they have megaton plus yields. Those are thermonuclear weapons. Okay, MK, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Praveen says, first of all, thank you. The question is, who is really winning the Russia-Ukraine war? Can we leverage this war to procure Su-57 at discount? Who's winning right now? It's a stalemate. Obviously, Russia has the upper hand. Ukraine is in no position to see. The question you have to ask yourself is very simple: which side is in a position or has the capability to destroy the other side completely, to inflict a permanent, complete military defeat on the opponent? Is Ukraine in a position to inflict a complete, comprehensive military defeat on Russia? Has it ever been in that position? The answer is no and no. Is Russia today capable of inflicting a complete, final military defeat on Ukraine? It is. It would involve tremendous amounts of force and tremendous damage and destruction, but they can do it. They can flatten Ukraine. But Russia has chosen to take it very slow. And because of that, now in the past week, they've suffered significant losses. And now Zelensky's star is rising, his stature is rising. The West is beginning to portray him like a second Winston Churchill. So that's the deal. So maybe Russia will now take some actions to, rectify the situation. Maybe they will want to, most likely, to end the war quickly now. We'll see. Can we leverage this war to procure the Sukhoi 57 at a discount? I think Russia will be happy to give us the Sukhoi 57. I'm not sure about the discounts and all, but the thing is, if we get the full transfer of technology, that's the most important thing. And of course, if it comes at a discount, why not? But the most important thing is full transfer of technology, including the source code, including all of it. That would be the most ideal thing for us. I think we should go for that. After properly scrutinizing the offer and doing our due diligence, we should go for it. Shibam says, when will India build scale power capacity for AI? I think the government of India is now taking AI very seriously. And I'm sure there are projects underway to have our own indigenous AI systems. Not just a chatbot and a large language model, but something beyond that. So the real utility of AI is not in the civilian domain, it's in the military domain and the governance domain. So I think India is in the process of doing this. Karnataka, you're going to have some developments there and so on. So I think we're on the right track. Vedic Post says, did the Upanishads give birth to quantum? Look, I may be completely ignorant, but I don't see it that way. I may be completely wrong in this, because a lot of people believe this. But I haven't really read the Upanishads in great detail. But quantum mechanics, see, what you have is that there are so many of these phenomena in quantum mechanics that make no sense. Quantum mechanics is not intuitive at all. It has these extraordinarily counterintuitive aspects to it. And some of the interpretations of quantum mechanics are shocking, mind-boggling. Like multiple universes, the quantum multiverse, quantum immortality, and so on. These are real possible interpretations of quantum mechanics, and these are similar to what we have in the Indian philosophical text, like the Upanishads and so on. So the interpretations are similar to what Indians thought about thousands of years ago. We thought about this without solving the equations or deriving the equations of quantum mechanics. So the Upanishads did not give birth to quantum mechanics, but what the Upanishads and etc. speak about, what Indian philosophical texts speak about, that is now being seen as some of the interpretations of quantum mechanics. The interpretations are very similar to what Indian philosophical texts talk about. So there are parallels which make us wonder what on earth were our ancestors doing. How did they, thousands of years ago, think of these things, which are now coming out of quantum mechanics? That's the deal. Anand Pai says, how and why did Singapore separate from Malaysia? Oh, that's an old story, and I don't know. Lee Kuan Yew cried on in front of the cameras for that. I think there were differences on governance, and I don't remember exactly what the deal was right now. There were differences on in opinion about how the two nations should proceed, and Lee Kuan Yew wanted something else, and Malaysia wanted something else. That's as far as I can remember right now. The specific details you're going to have to look it up. Uh yeah, so I don't remember right now exactly what it was. Only Gem says why Hindu scripture teaching in temples is not promoted, at least in BJP ruled states. It would unite Hindus and promote use of Sanskrit and unify Hindus. Well, unfortunately, you see, I am not one of the rulers of the BJP ruled states, so I don't know why it is so. You're going to have to ask the governments in those states why it's not being done. Hindu scripture teaching in temples. It's a good idea. What's wrong with it? Do it. But for that, temples would need state support. But we're a secular nation, so we can't support the temples with public money. Of course, we can support other things with public money, which is perfectly fine in Indian secularism. I think it's ridiculous. India should wholeheartedly, in my opinion, embrace its cultural and civilizational identity and values and traditions officially. But that's not the case. So that's where we are today. And it's sad. MK, was the US pro or anti Brexit and why? Well, the US never said anything about this. They said it's a internal matter of the EU or something. But I assure you they were pro Brexit. I assure you they wanted more direct control over the UK, which would not be possible if the UK remained part of the EU. Then they can only control the UK indirectly through Brussels. So I think it was a great deal for the US that the Brexit happened. Okay, Mr. 88 says that if Trump was silent, shouldn't that make it more obvious that he was aware? I mean, he was very quick with the Pahalgam thing happened, or we started Operation Sindoor. Look, Mr. Trump makes it a point to tweet about everything and anything. No matter what's happening, he's tweeting. He like tweets dozens of times a day. Twitter or he puts posts these days on Truth Social, and he has an opinion over everything. And if something happens, he'll weigh in about it. But I'm assuming you're talking about. Spiderweb. Maybe you are. But when this Operation Spiderweb happened, nothing. Not a statement from Trump for 48 hours. Because there was nothing for him to take credit for, right? I don't think he was aware. I don't think he was aware at all. I think he was shocked. He was shocked into silence. And his first mention of Operation Spiderweb was when he put out a post on Truth Social about his conversation with Mr. Putin, which involved a discussion about the planes that were hit. So I think he's been completely shocked and he's been flabbergasted. What on earth happened? They're not paying me due respect, due deference. How dare they keep me out of it? He was very upset and very annoyed. I get the feeling he had absolutely no idea about this. Saini SSS says DRDO is working on human robots that will join our military by 2027. How can they help us in warfare? By taking bullets and nothing happens to them. If a human takes a bullet, you are incapacitated at best. I mean, you can fight, but you're going to need attention very rapidly. But robots, I think they can take a lot of damage. And they can go deep into enemy territory, and we don't have to worry about a robot being captured, for example, or killed. But we don't want our people to be captured. So that's just one example of how they can help us in warfare. And robots, if they're AI equipped, they will always aim properly. They won't miss the target, you see. They won't miss the target. So many advantages of having robots. You just send 10,000 robots into battle. They'll take POK for you. They'll neutralize all the Pakistani terrorists and all the Pakistani regulars. And then we can walk in. I mean, imagine that scenario. Isn't it great if we have robots in battle? There you have it, sir. Siddhartha Sarma says, I want to learn about Indian dynasties before the frequent invasions. What sources would you suggest? Also would love to watch a series from me about this. Yeah, well, there's only a certain number of things I can do on an ongoing basis. The geostrategy podcast that I'm doing, it takes a tremendous amount of research. I have to go through more than 1,000 pieces of high signal intelligence per week. Yeah, I'm also trying to continue the Understanding America podcast, which involves a lot of reading. If I'm doing all that, how on earth will I be able to, do a series about Indian history? I would love to. I would love to. I'm not saying it's a bad suggestion. It's a great suggestion, and thank you for that. But at this point in time, it's not possible. Maybe in the future, I would love to. Uh, where can you read about Indian dynasties before the frequent invasions? I think you can read up R.C. Majumdar. That's a great one. There's a book about South Indian history, and I don't remember who the author was, Neelakanthan or something. Maybe I'll put it out separately. But I think R.C. Majumdar is a great source. Of course, some of his information will most likely be outdated because he wrote the books almost 100 years ago, but it's still a great source and a very detailed source. So maybe you can start with R.C. Majumdar. He's got this long series about Indian history. I think more than 10 books, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a good source to go to. Thank you. Anonymous says, why can't lab diamonds be used in jet engine turbines? Well, it's a good question. Well, okay, let's do some research, shall we? Let's do a bit of research. What's the combustion temperature of diamonds, right? First of all, jet engine temperature, jet engine average temperature. How many thousand degrees? How hot? Okay, so this is an AI overview. 1500 degrees, let's say. Now, 1500 degrees, keep it in mind. Now, combustion temperature diamond. See, 900 degrees. So if you have a diamond turbine blade in a jet engine which reaches 1500 degrees, the diamond will end up as ash because it is carbon at the end of the day. So that's why you can't. And also, it has other characteristics that you don't want in a jet engine turbine. Geopolitical Dubai, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Sahil, Rajesh, Lavande says, your thoughts on China's agro-terrorism in the US? Well, plausible deniability. Sending some kind of a fungus, a blight of some kind, through students or researchers or whatever. They will try everything at their disposal. They will. I'm sure the US will also reciprocate or must be doing things similar to that. So, Sergeant Skyland says, how would you rank the IAF now, the Indian Air Force today? The most powerful Air Force is the US Air Force, then the US Marine Air Force, and then the US Navy Air Force. That's three. The second most powerful, after that, you would have, I would imagine, the Russian Air Force, then the Chinese Air Force, then the Indian Air Force. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, number 6 or something. But when it comes to national strength, the US is number 1, Russia is number 2, China is number 3, India is number 4. That's where I would rank India. Mike says, I like Japanese history and culture. The Meiji Empire modernized Japan and made it a great power. Why did the Marathas fail to create something like the Meiji Empire and become a contender in the Second World War? The Meiji Empire nearly destroyed Japanese culture, by the way. They modernized Japan at the cost of Japan's traditional culture, and they turned Japan into something it never was, an adharmic culture, a dharmic empire. And that's why Japanese soldiers committed all those horrific atrocities they did in Nanjing and Manchuria and whatnot. The Meiji Empire tried to uproot Japan's 2000 plus year old culture. They tried to wipe Buddhism out. They destroyed the samurai system, the shogunate, everything. And yeah, it made Japan a great power for a while, but then you know what happened eventually. The Marathas never had the intention of removing Dharma from India. And where did Marathas fail to create something like the Meiji Empire? Look, the Maratha Empire, it was destroyed by the British after the Second Anglo-Maratha War. But the reason for the decline of the Maratha Empire was infighting. It's always succession that goes wrong, that causes infighting, and then you have this political tussle for supremacy, and you forget what the big picture is, that you need to run the empire and safeguard the country. And that's what happened. That's where it went wrong, my friends. Akshay Verma says, how do you rate the US current foreign and immigration policy? Will it help them in the long run for creating jobs? Foreign policy is right now haphazard. They're imposing tariffs everywhere, even on their own allies. Their own allies are now in the position of at the point of reciprocating with further tariffs on the US. And the Trump administration seems to think that they can get away by arm twisting everybody because they are more powerful, but it's going to cause long lasting ill will towards the US, and it's not good overall. It's not a good foreign policy to have. Immigration policy, they're cracking down on lots of things. They are deporting lots of what they call illegal aliens and so on. If somebody is in the country illegally, they should be deported. Nothing wrong with that. I completely support that. No question about it. Um, so if they're able to deport all the illegal aliens, it will kind of, to a certain small extent, ease the pressure on their society and economy, and it will free up more jobs for actual citizens. So that would be good. Immigration policy, what else? They want high skilled immigrants, very valuable immigrants, not low skilled immigrants. So I think that's a work in progress. So um, the current foreign policy is kind of chaotic, and I think it's a little counterproductive for the US interests. The immigration policy seems to be a somewhat better, and maybe if it is implemented and enforced properly, it may be good for the US, and it may free up more jobs for American citizens, maybe even create jobs possibly. Maybe the foreign policy is all about creating jobs, imposing tariffs on things that are coming from outside, so that the American economy will have to create those products at home. But that will come at a much higher cost. So it'll have problems, inflationary problems, and so on. But let's see. So overall, the foreign policy isn't great. Immigration policy makes more sense. Nilesh Patil says, "What's the battle of Antietam? Change in the US psyche?" I haven't reached there yet. I haven't reached there yet, so I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a pivotal what you could say chapter in US history. Abhishek Srivastava says, "Your views on Pranav Mistry Chat Sutra AI app." I am not aware of it. Pranav Mistry is a pretty solid technical guy. I remember watching videos of him like 15 years ago, in which he was the first guy to, have these the Internet of Things kind of thing, and he was very innovative and so on. But I haven't personally seen this Chat Sutra AI app. Should I see it now? I think no, not right now. I'll look into it later. So I don't have views right now because I haven't seen that yet. Mr. Aviator says, if the exchange of 100 nukes between two nations can end human life on Earth, then why does the number of nukes matter? We or North Korea should be as much feared as Russia. Why does Russia's number of nukes matter more? Yeah, you're right. Beyond a certain scale, number of nukes doesn't matter. And that's why, during the Cold War, the first Cold War in the 70s and 80s, the two nations, the US and the USSR, had these series of treaties that cut down the number of nuclear weapons, because it made no sense for each nation to have 10,000 plus nuclear warheads. Made no sense whatsoever. Too much maintenance, too much headache. Cut it down, cut it down, cut it down. They also had this thing that they would not mate their nuclear weapons with strategic bombers, and the strategic bombers would remain on display, and they would not be attached. The missiles or nuclear weapons will not be attached to the aircraft. There was the start one, start two, whatever treaty and so on. So it doesn't make sense to have so many nuclear weapons. But still, I think both nations, US and Russia today, have around 5,000, roughly, give or take, nuclear weapons. um, Now the question is, how many nukes, if they're detonated, can end human life on Earth? If 100 nukes are detonated, will it end human life? It will cause some kind of atmospheric disturbance. It will cause some kind of mild nuclear winter scenario. But it won't end life on Earth. 100 nuclear weapons. It will cause problems, climate problems, and so on. It won't end human life. It may affect human life. Maybe a few million people may die, possibly, which is already a disaster. But it won't end human life. And nations like the US, etc., can potentially deal with this such scenarios. But if you have 1,000 weapons, that is catastrophic, and that's like a world-ending scenario. So that's why nations with 100, 200 weapons are not that feared, and obviously, um, nations like ours will probably not want to use them. Rahul Lakshmanan says, are there plans for space tourism by India, private or public sector? Not that I know of anything at all. Nothing that I know of. For space tourism, you need significant space assets infrastructure. You need at least one space station. You need the ability to send people up on demand. We don't have that right now. ISRO has a very shoestring budget and shoestring capabilities, despite being a fantastic organization with fantastic people. And we have achieved so much in ISRO despite such low budgets. So, space tourism is a luxury, and I don't think anybody in India has any plans for space tourism, whether it's the public sector or private sector at this point in time. Ritik Pawar says, why is Elon posting against Trump now? Divorced? Divorced, yes, sir. Divorced. It's done. Yep. Nikhil Bansali says, what would you define as Indian values? Are the values that come out of the Vedas, of the Upanishads, the traditional cultural civilizational values of India, which come out of the various philosophical schools of thought, whether it is yoga, mimamsa, whatever else we have, whether it is the uh, Jaina philosophy, whether it is the Sankhya philosophy, the Bodha philosophy, even the Charvaka philosophy or the Vedanta philosophy, all these philosophical schools of thought, they have a shared set of values. No matter how different the schools of thought are, they have these shared values, that non-violence is superior and preferable to violence, being vegetarian is preferable and superior to being non-vegetarian, and you have to serve dharma. Ahimsa is bad, which means we have to destroy ahimsa, and so on and so forth. All the values that are common in all the philosophical schools of thought are the Indian values. Samir Chavan, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Recently, we saw how far India has progressed in AI in warfare. How can we Indian citizens best use AI Kosh to advance AI innovation, research innovation using government provided data sets, models, and tools? Have you explored it? I have not explored it. What is AI Kosh? Let me try and find out very rapidly, quickly. Let me Google it. What is AI Kosh? AI Kosh. Let's see, what is AI Kosh? AI Kosh. AI Kosh, a platform that provides repository of data sets, models, and use cases to enable AI innovation. It features AI sandbox capabilities through an integrated something. And this looks like a government thing. That's fascinating. I was not aware of this. So I'm not that much of an adopter of AI, so maybe that's why I was not aware of it. But it's interesting to see this. So yeah, India has progressed significantly in AI warfare, no question. How can Indian citizens best use AI Coach to advance AI research and innovation using government-provided data sets? I'll have to dig deep into that and look into what kind of data sets are being provided to us. What AI tools are part of this AI Coach? What models do we have? Can we download the models and use them at home? On our own systems, or do we have to be connected like with chat gpt or whatever else you have? I have not explored it. I came to know about it just now because of you, so I thank you for it. I've not explored it, but I'll make sure I do before the next live stream, because this is very interesting. Do we already have AI systems and AI models of our own? Interesting. So I'll check it out. But as of now, I can't answer the question because I haven't used it. So anyway, thank you so much. Sushant Das says, is the recent movement in Nepal to bring back the monarchy India's reply to the US for the regime change in Bangladesh? I hope so, if it is the case. And I hope that the monarchy comes back in Nepal, because that's been Nepal's traditional system for centuries. Since the 18th century, they've had a monarchy in Nepal. The first king was Rana, I forget the name, but yeah, the kingdom of Nevar in Nevar Valley. And yeah, it would be so nice for the people of Nepal to have their monarchy back. I'll be so happy for them. Um, I'm not sure if it's India's reply to the US. In case it is, well, good job, India. But yeah, it should happen. Just just a movement happening without success is no point, right? It should happen. They should get their monarchy back. They should have their king back. Rohan Sunija says, do you agree with George Friedman's view, who's a renowned geopolitical expert? He says that Japan will research is a great power and the rise of Poland is a big power. Poland is being positioned by NATO and the US as the next big bulwark against a hypothetical Russian westward expansion. And Poland is being transformed into a military power, significant military power. So yes, Poland is rising as a big power. And their economy is doing well, etc. Anyway, good for the people of Poland. Good, but they should not allow themselves to be used as a pawn on someone's geopolitical chessboard. That's the only concern. But Poland is rising, sure. Will Japan resurge as a great power? I would love nothing more than that to happen. Japan is a wonderful nation, great culture, great civilization, wonderful people. I would love for Japan to rise again as a great power, and as a Japanese cultural entity, not as an Abrahamized entity or a deracinated entity like it was under the Meiji Restoration. But will it happen? I think unfortunately it's unlikely for this to happen right now. The birth rates and all, it's a disaster in Japan, and now they're bringing in immigrants into Japan. That's a disaster. That's a disaster. Very sad. Divya Sharma says geostrategy with AC is amazing. Keep it up. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. I'm assuming you're a ma'am. Thank you. Um, Vishal Chaudhary says Subramanian Swami's stand on current government seems suspicious, revealing details of numbers of fighters shot, calling India's GDP figures fake. In your opinion, I don't examine Indian politics. I look into geopolitics. I am not aware of what who is saying and who is not saying and all that. So many people do that, right? There are so many experts who go dig deep into Indian politics, and they can give you the right answers about this. I have not seen Mr. Swami's statements. I'm not aware of what he has been saying. As far as I know, he's no longer part of the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, whatever it was. So I can't say. I don't know about that. Not aware of it. Sorry. Ginny says, good morning. If hypothetically, so you're in Canada, I suppose. Okay, good morning. If hypothetically India gets $30 trillion somehow, how will you allocate the funds for the growth of India? I would allocate at least 5% of the GDP, annual GDP, to the defense of the country, a defense budget. Then I would allocate a significant proportion to R&D. And then I would revamp the Indian education system with all these funds. 30 trillion is a great amount of money. Invest like at least $1 trillion into revamping the education system, which is easier said than done. I mean, you can invest the money; it's easy if you have it. But revamping it, the whole system, the rotten system, with so many entrenched, stakeholders, that'll be difficult. It will cause chaos. So wait, whatever it is. So yeah, I would focus on the long-standing issues which have long-standing benefits, long-lasting benefits, deep benefits in the long term. So that's what I would do. The rest obviously has to be spent on governance and yeah, if you get $30 trillion, you could purchase a lot of hardware. Maybe you can transfer the Rafale production line to India and the Sukhoi 57 production line to India, and have all the technology transferred to India, jet engines and whatnot. So you can do a lot with $30 trillion. But where would I would start? I would start with allocating 5% for defense per year. Um, and maybe of these so I'm not really answering your question there. I'm not talking about $30 trillion GDP per GDP annually, no, but you're saying a lump sum $30 trillion. Yeah, so I would use at least 5 trillion of those for the Indian defense, whatever the gaps are, whatever the shortcomings are. And the rest I would have to think about it, because I haven't thought about what I would do with $30 trillion. But I'm sure there's a lot of good you can do, a lot of holes that can be plugged, a lot of infrastructure that can be built, a lot of weapons that can be bought, a lot of high quality universities and institutes that can be created. You can invest maybe at least a few trillion of those into ISRO, yeah, and so on, to create a proper space program and so on. Really now says, who has fusion nukes? Do we? Are they more advanced? We have fusion nukes. These are called thermonuclear weapons. It's a three-stage process. Conventional explosive gives rise to a fission reaction, which in turn gives rise to a fusion reaction. It's called a hydrogen bomb or a thermonuclear bomb. Two-stage, three-stage devices. The first stage is conventional chemical explosives. We have it. The Chinese have it. The Americans have it. The Russians have it. Do the North Koreans have it? Possibly. Does Israel have it? I have no idea. But they have nukes. Does Pakistan have thermonuclear bombs? If the Americans have given them, sure. Or maybe the Chinese gave them, sure. So, yeah, they are more advanced. It takes a little bit more of engineering to make it happen, the fusion process. So they are more advanced and they are more powerful, significantly more powerful. Because the fusion reaction, the fusion of hydrogen atoms into helium atoms, the output is helium atoms and a tremendous amount of energy, way more energy that is given out by a fission reaction. So that's why they are more powerful. Kalki said, thank you very much. Welcome to the channel. Ziva, thank you very much. Welcome to the channel. I never ever tell anybody to buy the membership, but some of you still buy it. So thank you so much. I'm very grateful for that. You're really supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you. AS says, I'm a British Indian citizen. First of all, thank you. Should I back off with a PhD in the US given I never had any social media profile? I think if you're a British Indian citizen, if you have a British passport, go for it. Absolutely go for the US. No issues. It won't matter what the color of your skin is as long as you have a British passport. And you never had any social media profile. Well, what else do you want? The coast is clear, my friend. Go for it. Go for it. As long as you have a British passport, there's no problem. They are only targeting people who have Asian passports, mainly China right now, but potentially also India. So you're good to go. The UV Mishra says, what would be India take on Pakistan's new UN position? I think it is deplorable. I think it is regrettable. As the global Indian ambassador to the world, I declare that this is a regrettable thing to do. And the United Nations should be ashamed of itself for elevating Pakistan to such a position where it is in charge of counterterrorism in some way. It's deplorable. It's regrettable. It is shameful for an organization for the UN to give the world's epicenter of terrorism this position. That's it. Krausnof says, I asked GPT, okay, how people outside of India can help the dharmic cause. It responded, well, short URL dot at rl. Okay, that's the URL. People should see it. Well, should I see it? Maybe I should. Maybe I'll take a look at what that is. Let us find out. So, let me put this thing on the screen. Here we have it, and let me try and check out the URL. Short URL dot at slash RDFLX. What's it say? Page not found. Short URL dot at RDFLX. Okay, maybe I'll do that in my free time. Looks like I was not maybe I got the URL wrong or something, but okay, let people check it out for sure. And thank you for sharing this. I appreciate it. Jagan says China controls 95% of the rare earth elements. The US is begging. I'm not sure the US is begging in front of China. Is China the next superpower? No, it's not. Thus far, it's not. AI, US lag behind China. The US is at the forefront of AI, but China is showing signs of potentially catching up in the future. It's not very far behind the US. Yeah. And will US ever protect China at the cost of its business with China? Will the US ever protect Taiwan at the cost of its business with China? The US is decoupling from China, in case people haven't noticed. The US has imposed 145% tariffs on China, and then they brought it back to a certain thing, a small period of time to have breathing space for talks. But the US is going all out against China. They want to destroy their economic relationship with China. They want all their American companies to pull out of China. That's why India has the opportunity. The US is not valuing its business with China. It wants to end everything. It's nuking it. When it comes to Taiwan, the US will protect Taiwan. Or if China is militarily strong and it will take Taiwan, the US will ensure that Taiwan is entirely destroyed before China gets hold of it. And the US is not begging in front of China. The US has alternatives. Even though the Chinese control 90% of the rare earth elements, 95% actually, and they have imposed stringent restrictions, which means the US gets nothing now, there are alternatives. Australia is a big source. And if Australia ramps up its production, it could become a significantly viable alternative to China. India is engaging with Australia on this front, and so on. Is China the next superpower? I hope not. And probably it's not in a position to be the next superpower anytime soon at all, or ever possibly. Dev Chandan Malik says India got burned by the US in 1971. Oh, yes. Backing Pakistan. Oh, yes. But we gave them the best response possible by vivisecting Pakistan. And we also got burned by the post 98 nuke test sanctions. Yes, we did. Can we trust the US now with the Quad I set with vis-a-vis China? How do we use it, stay autonomous, and avoid betrayal of the US flips? The US, we have to understand one thing very clearly. The US doesn't wish India to grow. It doesn't want to see India as a 10 $15 economy by the 2040 horizon. It doesn't want a new China to emerge in 15 years. India can very much emerge as the next China in 15 years if we just keep up with the current growth trajectory. So they will do everything they can to curtail our growth, to hamper our growth, and cause all kinds of problems. Can we trust the US? We can trust the US to do all of this. The Quad, all that is nice to counterbalance China. We have some utility in that matter. But apart from that, the US wants India to stay where it is. They want our growth to stagnate. They will do their best to ensure this happens. So we can trust them to have that sort of approach towards us. So how do we stay autonomous, etc.? We have to have a policy of multi-alignment, work with everybody, cultivate all possible friends that we can, geopolitically, whatever friendship is possible, yes. And we should also have excellent relations with other powers. What other powers exist apart from the US and China? Russia, for example. We should maintain our excellent relations with Russia. We should also cultivate our excellent ties with France and the global South nations. And if we balance all these things together, we can stay autonomous. And that's what one would like to do. Nachiket Jayaraman says, did US DNI predicted major India-Pakistan conflict before 2026? How is that? What is DNI? US DNI. US DNI. Director of National Intelligence, is it? Oh, who is the DNI? Is it Tulsi? Okay, whoever it is. US DNI Tulsi, is it? Tulsi. It is Tulsi Gabbard. So did she predict a major India-Pakistan conflict before 2026? I'm not sure. And maybe they have their calculations of predictions, predictive analytics. Yeah, I'm sure. I suppose they use all kinds of supercomputing power and AI and all that. So maybe you can war game scenarios like humans can't. Maybe that can allow them to predict stuff, possibly. Shubham Dubey says, what's your take on India acquiring 31 MQ-9B drones from the US, considering their advanced surveillance and possible nuclear integration? Can this be trusted strategically? Look, these are, I think, surveillance drones. If we try to modify them for nuclear delivery, they will not allow it to happen, and they will disable the drones remotely. Guaranteed. And look, man, if you acquire weapon systems from the Americans, they always come with some kind of problem, with some kind of compromised situation. The Australians know it very well. FA-18 fighter planes they bought from the Americans, completely useless for 2 decades. So yeah, if we use it in a way that the Americans don't like it, they're going to disable it immediately. And that's how it is. The reason they've sold this to us is because we can use this to do surveillance in the Indian Ocean region, in the Bay of Bengal region, Chinese inroads into the region, and so on. That's why. So yeah, it's dangerous to purchase American weapon systems because they are not reliable. The Americans can switch them off. Ziva, well, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. In video, do Muslims in the subcontinent have Turkic DNA? Very little, very negligible. Most of them have absolutely no Turkic DNA. Maybe 1% or 2% of them may have maybe 5-10% Turkic DNA. Most of them have absolutely no Turkic DNA. They're us. They're our people. The actual article didn't talk about Muslims in Afghanistan, Pakistan. Rather talked about 6 random Muslim communities. Nature Genetic article from 2012 says 65% Pashtuns are distant from Indian people. Okay, but I have seen genetic studies about Pashtuns. I obviously don't have the access to it right now because I'll have to go dig through all my all that. But The Pashtuns are essentially an extension of the North Indian population. And in the past 1000 years, many other ethnic groups have settled in Afghanistan, right? Which means that there's going to be dilution of the original ethnicity, no question about it. But overall, among the various ethnic groups in Afghanistan, the Pashtuns are the largest ethnic group, and they are the indigenous ethnic group. And they still have some remnants of their pre invasion culture. Some of the, I mean, the Attan dance, for example. I mean, if you see the Attan dance, you'll be astonished. What on earth? And so on. There will be some genetic dilution, some influx, some introgression of foreign genetics. Uh, but overall, the Pashtuns are our people, and you can look at other research papers also, I suppose, because I remember doing that a long time ago, and it said that the Pashtun population is an extension of the Northern Indian population, and they've had genetic influx from other surrounding regions also because of the geographical location of Gandhar or Afghanistan. Sergeant Skyland says, the do you think India used the S-400 better than Russia? We don't know. I don't know because we don't have the data. I don't have access to the data of how much, how to what extent was the S-400 used in the 3 day war against Pakistan. As far as I know, we used it once. As far as I know, to my very limited understanding, because we had that interception of Pakistani missile, ballistic missile, possibly over Sirsa, Haryana. That was most likely, in my opinion, the S-400. I still may be wrong about that. So can't really compare a limited use versus what Russia has been using in the Ukraine conflict. Can't really compare the two. Warrior says root cause of anti-Semitism in detail, Nazism, etc. The Europeans have persecuted Jews for almost 2000 years. The root cause is that they claim all kinds of things about Jews, that Jews are outsiders and Jews have some practices that the Europeans don't like, and some kind of stories of blood libel or something. I'm not sure what it is. We don't understand these things. The Jews have lived in India for 2000 years, never ever been persecuted in India. So we don't understand what anti-Semitism is. The Europeans, they have given rise to it, I suppose. Okay. Hem, big fan. Well, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Ankita ji, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. ABM Studio says Russia is offering Sukhoi 57s with full technology transfer. They want to produce Sukhoi 57s not just for India, but for the world. Outstanding. What could be a possible reason why our government is not taking it up? We have not rejected it. That offer has just come to the table pretty recently. Now, when such an offer is made, you have to sit down and look at all the details. What is part of the offer? What are all the technical details? You have to do your detailed due diligence. Takes time. Then you may find that some things are a different way from what you want. Then you can do a counter offer and so on and so forth. So I think the government of India should move on this as quickly as possible. And yesterday, I think, or day before, when was it? I think yesterday I made the prediction that there's a 80% chance that by the end of this year we will go ahead with this offer. Maybe a modified version of the offer, but this offer. So our government has not refused it. I think we are studying it carefully, studying the offer carefully. You have to look at all the technical specifications and considerations of the offer. So I think I predict there's an 80% chance that by the end of the year, India will go ahead with this. And that will be fantastic, as long as the offer is great. Prashant Kumar says, it feels like we are alone and the world is against us. Look, friends, the world is how many people? Some 7 billion something. We are 1.4 billion of us. How can 1.4 billion people be alone? We have each other. Why do we need anybody else? And the whole world is not against us. It's only some countries that are against us. Most of the world actually likes us. All the global south countries, they are on our side. At least I know it's silent. They're silently supporting us, but they're on our side. Okay, Grok says, what's happening to the Chinese economy? So Wagi crisis explanation. You get this report of the Chinese economy collapsing, or there's some crisis or the other all the time. I don't think it's an economy in a crisis. I'm sure there are issues. They say the housing bubble is going to break, and they've been saying that for a very long time. I don't think that's the case. I think the Chinese economy is doing reasonably well. There are issues, no question about it, but I don't see it I don't see it going down. I don't see there being a crisis anytime soon. Um, it'll it'll be okay, I guess, for the Chinese economy. AS says, after my education, what can I do to help India? I'm thinking of setting up a pharmaceutical company in India, but I don't know how to pursue it. After your education, what you need to do is to earn a tremendous amount of wealth outside of India. Once you get your degree, that's not the time to come and help India. Once you get your degree, set up an industry, set up a company, set up whatever it is in the West, and make it succeed. Become super wealthy. Once you have a few $100 million to throw around, that's when you come to India. Then you can set up a pharmaceutical company or whatever you want in India. By that time, you will have experience. You will know how the world works. You will know how to deploy financial assets and other assets. So learn all the tricks of the trade, all the skills outside of India, gain all the experience outside of India while staying in touch with India so that you know how things are in India as well. And then once you are sufficiently wealthy, that's when you set up your company in India. Because if you have $10,000 to invest in India, what's going to be the effect of that? But let's say you got 100 million to invest in India. Well, now you're going to have a genuine positive effect on India. So that's what I would say. Wait until you're in your 30s or 40s and do your best to become super wealthy. I wish you all the best, sir. Okay. Akshar says, why doesn't Bharat with consensus peacefully unify Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka into itself? After all, we have the same culture. We don't follow our culture. Nepal is still very much a Hindu nation. If we integrate Nepal into India, Nepal will have to follow secularism. Do you want that on our dear Nepalese people? Let Nepal be separate but still one with us. If you integrate Sri Lanka into India, Sri Lanka will go from a Buddhist country to a secular country. Imagine what it will do to Sri Lanka's culture. Do you want that? Do you want all the problems of India to go to all the other countries? Bhutan is a Buddhist country. You want it to become a secular country? It's not a good idea, you see, sir. Please think differently. Think critically. India's secularism is a disaster. We don't want to impose that on our people in Nepal, in Bhutan, and Sri Lanka, and wherever else. Let them currently be different, be separate entities. In the future, when we reconnect with our civilizational heritage, cultural heritage, and we embrace it officially, then we can think about these things. Then they will also be happy to come back to us. Right now, it's not a good idea. Okay, ICBM says, a taboo question. IRA, Irish Republican Army. Is it possible that the global drug trade and cartels exist as a way to keep Mexico, etc., in check and dependent on the US? So IRA in Mexico is not a bigger connection there, but IRA, I'm sure there was some drug funding in there. I remember reading a book called Mr. Nice. Yeah, Ireland was one of the main transit hubs, if I recall. So why does the drug trade happen? Why are all these cartels? Why do they exist? They serve some purpose. Otherwise, they would have been wiped out a long time ago. And yeah, it's a way to keep Mexico in check, in Colombia in check, and keep them off balance, keep them always in all kinds of trouble. You could say that. There are all these dirty tactics that are used to keep countries down. So I would say there is a non-zero probability that this may be true. Let's put it that way. Yes. Shiva Rajput says, Mukhya Mantri Yogi Adityanath ke Shahar Gorakhpur se pranam Gurudev. Pranam ji, pranam. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I read Hindi very slowly because I spend much of my formative time outside of India, and yeah, so I can read Hindi, but I'm slow. So when are we going to see a podcast with Sanjay Dixit sir? Well, ask Sanjay Dixit sir to invite me. I will go and I'll do a podcast with him. I'll be happy to do that. Anyhow, Gorakhpur, you're in Gorakhpur, wonderful place. I've never been there. I would love to visit. But anyway, namaskar to you and thank you so much. Vaibhav Shinde says, is our diversity killing us rather than benefiting us? What diversity do we have? We have the same culture, same civilization, all of us. We have different languages and all. Does it, and yeah, we have so many different ideas and different ways of living our lives and all different lifestyles and all. Is that killing us other than benefiting us? Maybe it's a challenge when you are up against the Abrahamic forces, which are like monochromatic, monotheistic, mono everything, complete, just one shade of gray, and we are so different, so that's why we can't unite possibly. So yeah, it is certainly one of our weaknesses, sadly. What should have been a strength? Pre LTP says, if India collapsed in future, what signs would we see? God forbid. How City of London got sovereignty? What Switzerland has WEF like horrible organization? Like three questions. If India collapsed in the future, what signs would we see? You would see some what? There are different kinds of collapses. Economic collapse, economic collapse. There's military collapse. There's foreign takeover. There are so many different things that can happen for a nation to collapse, and each of them has a different set of signals and signs and symptoms that you could possibly see coming. So one thing that could potentially happen to a nation, hypothetically, is a regime change. That's a coup-like thing or something. Sometimes you can see that coming. If there's an economic collapse happening in a nation, you can see that coming from far away. The economy is going down, the inflation is rising, jobs not there, and so on and so forth, all of that, and so on. So similarly, there are set of signs and symptoms for each different kind or type of collapse. And God forbid, it should never happen to India. How did the city of London get sovereignty? The city of London is not a sovereign nation. It's the capital of the UK. I'm not sure if it's a sovereign nation. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it's not. Why Switzerland has WEF like horrible organization? World Economic Forum. Switzerland is the kind of the European capital of all these things. They have a very nice, beautiful nation, very nice, very friendly, very boring people, but very nice people. Nothing abnormal, out of the normal happens there. And you have these global institutions that have centers over there, like the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and so on and so forth. It is just what it is. Potato Praiser says, watching you since 10th, completed 12th. Well, thank you so much, appreciate that, and congratulations on completing the 12th. Thinking of taking BBA in marketing, concerned of AI, any better options, or is BBA okay? Your thoughts? Commerce, Bachelor of Business Administration, I suppose. Well, that's what BBA is. Well, if it's something that you like, and if that's the kind of aptitude you have to do something in business and commerce and all, good, go for it. Any better options? Look, what's the better options? The best. I don't know much about what are the better options in the Indian education system. I think that whatever, it depends on what your overall objective is. Do you want to be a business person? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to inherit somebody's business? Is that what you're in line for? Do you want to be an entrepreneur and take some risks, or do you just want to have a job and work for somebody? Depending on the answers to all this, I can tell you perhaps what the right thing is. Without knowing it, it's very hard for me to say. But if you think that BBA in marketing is great, then you must have thought about it, and you must be, yeah, then maybe it's the right thing for you. So commerce, right? BBA, Bachelor of Business Administration, and then you can have an MBA. Well, that's great. Then you can have a very lucrative job in a company. So sounds like a good plan, sir. Anyhow, thank you so much, and thank you so much for watching me for all these years. And I can only wish you the very best going forward, sir. Thank you so much. Akshar says, thank you, sir. If Bharat doesn't trust the USA with fighter jets as it diminishes our sovereignty, then why are we acquiring GE 404 engines that can be disabled remotely? Is there no alternative in any other country? Somehow we have acquired, we are buying those. I think for some reason we have decided, or people have decided that this is the best possible engine for the Tejas. Tejas is a single engine fighter plane, and maybe the GE4 F404 engine specifications match what we require. Maybe we must have, maybe may have tried with other countries to acquire some other engines, and maybe they did not give us the best possible deal. Maybe they were armed races possibly, but the Americans into not giving it. Maybe the Russian certain engines are too big, too bulky for the Tejas. I'm not sure what it is. There could be so many different factors that have compelled us to acquire the GE F404 engine, which is now being delayed. So that's a form of leverage over us by the Americans. Okay, I'm going to take like 2-3 more questions, and then I'm going to be done with these. So yeah, you can. Yeah, I'm ending soon. Kumar Kanish says Pakistan Defense Minister said just said there is nothing like the LOC, as the Shimla agreement is scrapped. It's just a ceasefire. Now, what does it mean? Is it good? It's nothing. It's just redefining what it is. So before the Shimla agreement, the LOC was called the ceasefire line. So now the Pakistan Defense Minister is saying that the LOC now should be called the ceasefire line because the Shimla agreement is scrapped. The Pakistanis never respected the Shimla agreement anyway. So it means nothing. We don't care about it. Pakistan is insignificant. And if they try something, we're going to respond militarily. That's all they have to remember. That's all. So it's fine. Akshar says, why is Japan offering its IHI XF91 engine for co-development and local production for our AMCA? How does it benefit them? Looks too good to be true. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. See, Japan, unfortunately, is under the control of the US, especially when it comes to military technology and so on and so forth. So if something is being offered to us, think of it possibly as an American Trojan horse. How does it benefit them? Maybe there will be some components in the technology that could be eventually used to disable our aircraft in the future. And it's not Japan that's doing it, but the US, because the US controls Japan. So one has to be very wary of these things. Kids Bedtime Stories says, why does the Modi government continue to deny there's been increased Chinese occupation of India in recent times? There's clear proof. Well, I haven't seen this myself. I haven't seen the clear proof myself. Do you have the access to the latest Maxar satellite imagery? Maybe the print or the squint or the wire or the fire has put something out. I'm not sure. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I don't know what it is. Increased Chinese occupation, how many? Like how much is it? Like 100 square kilometers, 200, 500,000, or 20 square kilometers? What exactly is it? I'm not sure. And even if something like this has happened, why should the government go and make it public? So national security matter. Why don't we support our government? I don't get it. I personally have not seen the proof. Maybe there is proof. You can put in the comments. Okay, I promise you I will look into it. And if it's the case, I'll agree there's proof if it is genuinely there. I kind of have an understanding of how to scrutinize proof and to discern what is fake proof from real proof. I think I have the experience and knowledge to do that. So in case it is there, please put the link, sir, in the in the comments once this live stream is over. I promise you, check it out. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Grok says, I heard about Crown Council committee of 300. What's the history? Now, these, I haven't read this history. I'm sorry. Crown Council committee of 300. This sounds like what some people would call, what do they call it? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is. I've heard of it vaguely. I haven't studied the history. So unfortunately, I won't be able to answer your question. Crown Council Committee of 300 sounds like some kind of vague, shady story about some kind of alternative history or maybe hidden history, but I'm not sure what it is. Samir says, is watching cricket a luxury? View on RCB Stampede. Watching cricket is not a luxury. It's something everybody does. And of course, if you spend a lot of time watching it, it's a luxury because time is the most important and valuable commodity in your life. And if you spend a lot of your time watching cricket, yeah, you're spending your most valuable asset essentially doing nothing. You can watch once in a while, you can watch highlights, you can even watch an IPL match 3-4 hours, but if you watch it on a regular basis, yeah. Views on RCB Stampede, very unfortunate, sad, terrible. Mulrine says, opinion on Poland for rejecting illegals. What's the word? Based. Right thing to do. Good job. Jagan says entire Europe is on the verge of collapse because of demographic changes and Islamic immigration. What's the future of Europe? Will it be a new headache for the entire world after the Middle East crisis? Love you, Sar. Thank you, Sar. Thank you so much, Sar. I don't think the whole of Europe is on the verge of collapse, but many countries are under tremendous strain, and some could be eventually going to be on the verge of complete demographic makeover because of the policy that's been pushed into these nations by Brussels of forcing them to accept illegal immigrants or perhaps making it legal, but only military age men from certain places and so on. It's terrible. It looks like the future of Europe is not good based on what's happening. Will it be a new headache for the whole world after the Middle East crisis? I hope not. I don't think it's going to be a new headache thus far. These things take time to happen. Maybe Europe will be the headache in 30, 40, 50 years, but not immediately. Right? Okay, I think we have covered everything as far as I can. It's almost 1.5 hours. I was supposed to do a 1 hour live stream. So yeah, this is the end for today's live stream. Thank you so much everybody for watching. I really appreciate all of you. And the next live stream will be on Saturday. It will be a regular Ask Abhijit live stream. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all over there. And next week I will continue with the geostrategy podcast as well as the Indian interest podcast. It's going to be a regular recurring feature on the channel going forward. I hope it gives you some value. I hope it is very different from anything you have seen in the Indian or maybe global scene. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Please keep learning. Please keep asking questions. And yeah, there's one more question. Strangely, Proton, how are you also able to do? How are you also do you work these days? I work on my own. I am happily unemployed or self-employed. Okay, I don't work for anybody. It's been a while, and I'm very happy with my current status. So thank you so much, everybody. Keep asking questions. Keep raising your standards. Keep learning, and I will see you in the next live stream. Thank you so much. Bye bye.